Let me, oh, I do not have a mic that says I can hear you. Great, perfect. All right. So I guess if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, Brent, go ahead and just jot those in the text like you just did. We'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is James Cooksey. I am the Vice President of Sales and Business Development for North America. And I was the one who helped, set this up with NCFI. And of course, this is just a unofficial follow-up for everyone who had attended the class. We sent out invites to everybody. However, I guess a lot of people couldn't make it today. That being said, I want to introduce Jared Lubert. He is our sales engineer and tech support guy on this side of the Atlantic. And he's going to go over today on the Belkasoft Evidence Center software, the version X computer. And he's going to basically show you how you can best use it within your NITRO investigations. And with that, Jared, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
All right, thanks, James, for that. Thank you for joining us here. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through a couple slides. They're kind of tailored to the version of Belkasoft that you have available to you. So I'll just run through it, kind of give you a basic understanding of what's there, what we can do, what kind of artifacts we support, and then I'll dive into the software itself. And like James said, if you have any sort of questions, type them out, stop me. James, if you just want to, let me know there's a question, I'll just stop, I'll answer it, and we'll try to knock this out efficiently and make sure that I get you everything you need. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move forward here in the presentation. So this is Belkasoft X. What is Belkasoft X? Well, it's an all-in-one digital forensic software program. So that's going to cover the mobile, computer, memory, and cloud. It's my understanding that you have access to the computer forensics module of Belkasoft X. Now, what's special about this particular instance is that you guys also have the incident investigations module, which is typically only available to corporate customers within Belkasoft X. So that would be Belkasoft X Corporate Edition. But then also now we have just a sole program called Belkasoft In, and that's Incident Investigations. So what that's going to do is automatically pull out things like methods of persistence, recents folders, downloads, apps that run at startup, like that kind of information, typically that an investigator or examiner would look at before starting their investigation. So now let's move on. So since you have the computer edition of Belkasoft X, I'm going to dive into the different types of acquisition methods that are available for hard drive acquisitions. So you can actually create two different types of images when acquiring a hard drive, physical or logical of DD or E01, with the optional verification and hash calculations of SHA-1, 256, and MD5. You also are given the ability to split the image up that you've just acquired into chunks of a given size of your choosing, depending on how it's going to be transferred, where it's going to be stored, etc. And also, if you have a Microsoft tablet, this will work on that in the field. We also support the memory acquisitions for Windows machines with a free tool at belkasoft.com. That's a live RAM capture. And again, that is free. So if you follow that link, you can get that and play around with it. So the supported file systems and operating systems, you'll look up here and you'll notice that there are quite a bit of supported file systems. So APFS, HFS, FAT, FAT32, NTFS, Linux images, etc. And you can also see that we have support for logical in-case files, regular in-case files, FTK image files, X-Ways. If you create an image with an Atola imaging device, they create a proprietary image. So that can be loaded in here. We can also load in Mac images and many, many more. Right, dealing with encryption, I'm not entirely sure if you all have this available to you or not, but Belkasoft, the full version does come with, X Forensic version comes with whole disk encryption and full volume encryption detection with its integration of passware. So what does that mean? It means that you can detect and decrypt those encrypted hard drives, But also, if you, for an additional cost, there's actually a file decryption module that can be added on, which allows you to seamlessly right-click an encrypted file within the Belkasoft X program and choose decrypt, and it'll kind of give you an idea of what type of encryption mechanism is being used, how long it'll take to decrypt the password, and then once it does it, it'll spit that password out into a column within Belkasoft X. So now, because this is the utilization of passware within Belkasoft X, we support what they support. So that's going to be your BitLocker, FileVault, TrueCrypt, VeriCrypt, PGP, endpoint security, and many more. So the only thing that's necessary is that whenever this pops up, says, hey, we've detected that this image is encrypted with BitLocker. Please enter the recovery key or the password. So you'll get a little pop-up. You will still need to know that information to decrypt these encrypted images. So not looking at the left side of the screen, we do have the reviewing the process memory, which is very important, as you know, for instant investigations. If you're able to acquire a memory dump, Belkasoft X can mount live RAM dumps for Windows, Linux, and ARM. So not only Windows. While we can only acquire RAM from Windows, we do support memory dumps from the others. With that being said, there is the potential of restoring a list of processes, as well as looking at the binary memory in Hex Viewer. Sometimes, if we're able to acquire a snapshot, we can recover dead processes. And also, utilizing VirusTotal will actually search the process for a suspicious file name. If it is detected as suspicious, you can choose for Belkasoft X to send that process and hash to VirusTotal, and it'll kind of tell you if there is any known malware associated to it. Jumping out of the memory section of this and just kind of more on point of the VirusTotal, I will demonstrate a little bit later on inside the software how you can actually navigate to the file system, select an entire E01 all the way down to a single PDF, and right-click and analyze that file or that data source against VirusTotal for any malicious files. So out of the box, we do support somewhere near probably about 1,600 different types of artifacts now. We do have the ability to carve and recover deleted and hidden artifacts. So we're searching, master boot records. We're searching Slack space. We're searching unallocated space. Free list within SQLite databases. Write-ahead logs. All these things are supported within Belkasoft X analysis. So when it comes to analyzing pictures and videos, we do detect faces. We can group those faces into what's called a facial grouping. So you're collecting the similarity in the faces together instead of being spread out all across all of the pictures. For face and skin, we actually have 3 different sensitivity levels, which I'll show you inside the product. It's going to be less, medium, and more false positives. So those are your 3 sensitivity levels. We do have the ability to analyze for pornography. You can also choose in the settings, if you want to, or you probably need to, you can blur the picture of that are detected as pornography. There's also a nice little addition that allows you to unblur the face, but leave the rest of the picture blurred. So if you need to see who is in that picture, but not necessarily the entire picture, it's a really great option. And we also have gun detection and text detection. Now that text detection utilizes that OCR in 50 different languages, which is really nice. So when we're in the product, I'll show you how that text analysis pulls the words out of the picture and is actually searchable when you search from the global search feature from the main dashboard within Belkasoft X. Next up, you see the multiple video stream detection. So if someone's trying to hide a video behind a video, Belkasoft X can determine that there are multiple streams with that video. So it'll have this nice little warning triangle next to it. You click it, you can actually view both tracks of that video, which you normally wouldn't have known with that bit in there. So I think that kind of concludes the PowerPoint that I have. Now, I mentioned that there are all these different editions of Belkasoft X. You guys currently have X Computer, but with a nice little instant investigations module attached to it. So you'll get a little bit of both worlds minus X Mobile. Okay, and I will leave this slide up. However, whenever we're done with the presentation, I'll bring it back up as well. So if you want to grab any of this information, it will be there. Okay. So we are now in Belkasoft X within the main screen. As soon as you select that executable, this is what you'll get. So I'm going to walk you through some of the settings panes first. See what's actually important, how you're going to set up your product in order to best function for your investigation. So selecting settings is over here. The first thing that you'll probably notice is this slidable bar. So Belkasoft X automatically detects how many CPU cores and how much memory your forensic workstation has. So you can actually dedicate a certain number of cores or a certain number of memory for indexing your case. So if you've got multiple things running and you kind of need to slow one thing down or speed one thing up, this really great option here for you. We actually had a customer who utilized a 64-core Threadripper and was able to allocate 62 cores to processing his image, and he said it was just wicked fast. So it's just a nice little feature there for you. Underneath that, you'll say always open last case or check updates automatically. That's your preference. This is your temp folder where things are going to temporarily open up inside the product, as well as the application folder, just where it's being stored. Appearance, we have different languages that are available. This will change the language within the entire product. So it's not just the reports, it's not just some things, it's the entire product. Next is font size. So good eyes, bad eyes, whatever works better for you, you can enhance or bring down the font size. Two different themes, dark and light. We're currently viewing the dark mode. And under that is date and time formats. So, this is user preference, but there are many different formats here for you to choose from. Same for time and default encoding. Analysis profiles here. So these are kind of preset profiles. You can tailor these to be exactly what you want. You don't have to use them. They're just there to help you out. So let's just say that you were always doing incident investigations. If you always want to examine a box for particular artifacts, you could tailor this incident investigations profile to automatically process that image, and it will just pull out the artifacts that you have selected. So it's just kind of a quick way to jump in and start the case without individually selecting different artifacts. And again, you can do that, or you don't have to. So you can choose custom, and you can also choose not to save your artifacts that you've selected to a particular type of profile. Next is bookmarks. So while there are only 10 categories here, you can have as many bookmarks as you would like. So this is just a name. Category, you can come in here and you could say important, and then whenever you would go to create a bookmark within the software, you could be like important persistence or important downloads. So you could have 500 bookmarks under category 1 that are all different. The category is just the broader container of those bookmarks. So those names can be changed from right here. The colors and the hotkeys, they will remain the same. So you will not be able to change those. Next is carving. So looking at this one that I currently have in here, this is carving for a cryptocurrency wallet. So I had a known good wallet inside of an image. I found a common characteristic of Bitcoin wallets or whatever type of cryptocurrency wallet this was. I pulled out that characteristic and then put it into this carving section and then ran it against my image in order to find potential fragments of a shredded cryptocurrency wallet. So this is just an example of how this can be used. Next is pictures. I talked about the face and skin sensitivity levels, less, medium, and more. The blur pictures detected as pornography, and then unblur the faces so you can see who's in the picture. This is where that option is set. You also have the option to skip pictures less than 1,024 bytes, so you'll eliminate some of those smaller pictures that are typically take up most of the space during your analysis. Videos, say you have 30-minute videos on your in your image. One thing that you can do is actually break out the frames per second, the frame similarity, so you're not looking at a 30-minute video watching the whole thing. You can break this up into smaller chunks, as well as only show me when the frames are not similar. So it'll kind of break it out for you. Again, this has nothing to do with the multiple video streams. This is just breaking down your videos. Next is virus total. This is where I mentioned that you come and sign up. So you would just click virus total in settings, click join us link right here. You would create a profile, you'd get a personal API key, and then you would be able to run any of your data sets throughout virus total. Okay, now that was it for the settings tab. And I just want to check in, are there any questions thus far? Okay. And jumping into the product reference guide right underneath the settings, you will see here we have a 236-page help guide. What's nice about this is I can Control F and say I want to, let's just say I want to acquire an iOS device just for the sake of this. I would select iOS, and all of a sudden I'm acquiring mobile. I can click iOS, and I'm automatically brought to all of the different types of iOS acquisition options. Obviously, you guys will not be doing mobile, at least for this instance, but the same thing applies to computer acquisitions as well. Okay, checking for updates. If in the settings tab, you choose to not check for updates automatically, selecting check for updates will let you know if there's a version available for you. Over here on the right, license information. If I select this, this will tell me my dongle ID, it'll tell me who it's licensed to, all of the modules that I have available to me, and the ones that I don't have available to me. These over here in the middle, these are very, very short tutorial videos to kind of get you started in the right direction if you have any sort of issue, such as working with the artifacts window, just basic layout of Belkasoft X, how to create a case, how to create a report, how to manage your bookmarks, so on and so forth. Okay, and if I select open case, what this is going to do is it's going to pull up all of the different cases that I've ever loaded in to Belkasoft X on this forensic workstation. Now what's nice is I don't have to open these up because I get a basic idea of what's inside it just by looking at this. So this one, it looks like I did an iOS acquisition on October 2nd, and I have a Belka ML, which is just a Belkasoft KML file, a manifest DB that would be a nested data source, and then another one as well. But that's just an example. So the one that we're in today, you can see I have E01s, page files, Android backups, and just a videos folder. So there are many different artifacts that are in here, but it's nice because I don't have to actually load up the case to see what's in there. Okay, and then the create case is pretty standard. Put a name of the case, where do you want to store it, what is the examiner's time zone, so that's your time zone, your name, and a description of the case. Okay, jumping into the dashboard, just give you an idea of the basic layout of Belkasoft X. So right here in the middle is your data sources, so ones that you have loaded in. You'll see the show nested data sources. Nested data sources are data sources that are found within other data sources that you've loaded in. So if I am indexing an E01 file and it finds a virtual machine stored on that E01, it will pull it out and allow you to process that virtual machine separately. So if I uncheck this, show nested data sources, you'll see an Android backup, a page file, you'll actually see both of the Android backups in the page file disappear. So those were found inside of the E01 files that I've processed. So it pulled them out and examined them separately. So we're looking at thousands of artifacts that were found nested, but they're not being jammed into the E01 dataset artifacts tab that you would see down here. All of these are hyperlinked. So if I want to jump straight to pictures from here, I could. Same as over here. This is hyperlinked. I can change the view to a circle graph, and it gives me a percentage of how many artifacts take up the entire image. So for pictures, it's obviously the largest, takes up 30.58% of all artifacts in my data set. Again, I could click this and we would go directly into the artifacts tab. So again, that is just a basic rundown of the center, the data sources pane. And over here on the right, and I mentioned that these were hyperlinked. Now the application types are not hyperlinked. While they are artifacts, it's just showing you that, hey, the Opera application has the most amount of artifacts. So again, you can look at it in circle graph view or in grid view like this. So this is just kind of giving you an idea. You'll notice that it goes from 1939 all the way down to 2. So it's going to take your highest used or highest number of artifact applications all the way down to the lowest. And the same goes for artifacts. So highest number of artifacts is pictures, and the lowest is a malware process that was found in a memory dump. Okay, over here on the left in the top left-hand corner, you'll see your case properties. So whatever you named the case, who you are, what time zone you're in, and a description of the case, all of these can be edited at any time. So if you change states, you change time zones, you change examiners, you need to update the case name to make more sense. All of these things can be done. Below that, you'll see actions pane. All of these are things that you need to take action on. So add data source you can do from right here. You can also add a data source from the upper right-hand corner, this little blue circle with a plus sign and document. So I can click add data source over here, and it'll bring that screen up. I can also click add data source here and bring up the exact same screen. Now, if we've already acquired an E01, we would just go to let's go back, go add existing, image, and then we can choose from all of these different types of images, load one of these up. So you'll see E01, EX01, FLP, images, RARs, TARs, zips, you name it. So you can see all the way down to floppy disk images. So it's just a lot of support for loading in images. Now, same goes for memory dumps, folders. These are already acquired artifacts. So if I go to memory dump, you'll see that we can load in MEM files and sys files. If I go to folders, obviously it's going to be any folder. So if you've just pulled out specific artifacts, you can load that folder. Disk drive, it's just going to give you the physical and logical drives that are already connected to or maybe mounted on your machine, a forensic mount. Now, to acquire from Belkasoft X, these drives will be connected directly to your forensic workstation through a write blocker. We'd select drive. Again, it'll break out the different types of drives that are connected, where you can either do a physical or a logical of that. And again, that's E01 or DD format with the optional hash verification. Okay. Now, searching artifacts, I will hit on this a little bit more, but I want to show you kind of the basics of searching. This is going to be your global search function across your entire case. So if you are searching for a word or a phrase, you can do that. If I want to do a single word, I would just do word. If I want to do a single word, it would make sense to do it like this if I'm putting a space. You can also do treat it as regular expression. If you have a Word file, so you've already processed the case, if someone hands you a Word file, you can just run the entire Word file through here as well, and the option to treat it as regular expression. If you're not really sure what you're searching for, but you have a general idea, we do have predefined search methods. So suspicious words, location words, social networking, URL, that kind of stuff. So this kind of stuff is kind of predefined in the fact that we have a centralized database that's continuously being updated. Now, again, this is a predefined search, so you may not find exactly what you're looking for, but it's there to kind of put you in the right direction. Next, select a data source. If you know that you've loaded in, say like 4 or 5 different E01 files, and you know exactly what E01 file you're trying to search for, you can actually deselect everything and just search for that E01 file. And then searching through that E01 file, it says, what artifact types do you want to search through? Well, these artifact types are going to be the artifacts that were found in the E01. So if I go out of here and select, just say this this page file, now I'll only get things that were found in that page file data set. So it's kind of a quick way for you to search through all of your different data sets if you kind of have an idea of where you need to be searching. That way you're not wasting that time searching all of the things that were loaded into Belkasoft X. Okay, next is the create report function. So this is all the different types of formats that we do support. Where the report is, where do you want to store it? Do you want to open it when it's done being created? If I go into advanced options, you can change the sorting of the items. You can create a header and footer for your reports, orientation, whoever's name made the report, or put whoever's name in there who made the report. The style. So if you want to add your company logo, you can. Split up your artifacts by page, by file. If you have artifacts that are grouped, so say you've got 30 artifacts that came from one person's mail folder, you can click group these by mail folder, and it'll just get this top level mail folder with all the artifacts under it. Going into files, again, if you did pornography analysis on your image and you chose to put them in your report, you still have the option to blur those images so nobody has to look at them. You can also copy embedded files or attachments. So if you've collected or created a report out of chats, it'll pull the pictures that are being sent between the chats out and throw it into a folder right next to your report. Columns. So this is for, say I've just loaded everything in. I actually, I haven't bookmarked anything. This is your initial type report. This is going to be everything. So everything here on the left is all the different types of artifacts that we could actually go for. So you'll see in audio, we have this list of available columns and this list of already selected columns. If I switch over to blockchain, we're now going to look at the different types of columns that are available for that artifact. Browser artifact URLs, so you can get first visit time, so on and so forth. Okay, and folders. So selecting folders, this is, hey, whenever we create this, do you want to create subfolders? So it's just going to follow the case tree like you'd see in a file system if you selected this option. Okay, evidence reader. It's just like probably some of the other forensic tools that you've had the chance to use. This allows you to push a data source. So if I click export to evidence reader, and then I want to share my E01 file, but I only want the person that's going to be viewing this to have pictures from my E01 file. So now I'm going to be sharing just these pictures with somebody else that they can load up in a screen that looks almost identical to Belkasoft X, allow them to search, tag, create reports from, but not modify the data sets. So that's just a nice way to do that. And again, that is a free reader, so you can pass that executable off to anyone and they can view what you want them to look at on their own. Create a key dictionary. This is nice if you have multiple devices and you've already processed one but you can't get into the other one, because a lot of times people will reuse their passwords on multiple devices. So what that'll do is it'll actually do a strings of the image and it'll pull out potential passwords from what you've already acquired and put it into a dictionary file, which you can then later use to attempt to brute force that machine and get into it. And prepare log files. This is what you would select if you were having issues with the software. You collect prepare log files and you could send this to Belkasoft support. And delete cases just like it sounds. So over here on the bottom left, this is automatic searches. It's just like it sounds, it happens automatically. These are based on regular expressions. So they are not going to be 100% correct. They will just match criteria of whatever was set in regular expression. So if I select phone numbers from automatic searches, you'll see a bunch of things that could potentially be a phone number just because they match the right amount of digits or the right layout of a phone number. So we will get a lot of phone numbers in here, but you'll also see that we'll get things like a unique identifier because it met the digit criteria. So it's just kind of there again. It's not going to be 100%, but it's pulled out automatically to allow you as the examiner to kind of get a jump start into an investigation. Okay. So now we're jumping into the Artifacts tab. If I go to Pictures, which we've already analyzed, you'll see here that I can, the thumbnails are kind of large. They're currently set to medium. You can scroll that to make them a little bit smaller. If you're looking at some of the pictures and you see little green boxes, this is going to be a face detection within Belkasoft X. So you'll see over here on the left-hand side all the different things that I've analyzed for. So faces, guns, let's see, skin, and text. So this is what I wanted to show you. So you'll see in here, say this PDF. I switch over to the item text viewer underneath the artifacts. You can see we did a pretty good job of pulling the words out. Now, if I want to search for, say, let's see, the word reckoning, so it's probably not going to be everywhere. I could actually, copy that, or what I was looking for. I go back to the dashboard, go to search artifacts, all data sources, all artifact types, and I want to search for the word reckoning. I'll do OK, and it'll automatically bring me into. I'll get this information saying, hey, we started your search. If you want to view the progress of this, go to the task tab. So I go to the task tab. It says search reckoning.
Did you message me?
No. Could be my Instagram thing. Got hacked.
Okay. So should I just unfollow you?
Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry about that. All right. And then I will jump into the search results. So looking in here for word or phrase, you can see reckoning, and we got 8 hits. So not only did we find reckoning in the picture, let's see if it's the same picture. It is. And I think all these will be, but there's also a URL hit. So that's just one way that you can use the search function and how that text OCR actually works and allows you to search through it. So with that being said, the next thing that I kind of want to hit on is the structure of this tab. So over here you see structure and you see overview. We are currently in overview. There are many different types of artifacts here. Some of these down here will be much more useful to incident investigation, some sort of intrusion. These things will be found in overview. This is a combination of the artifacts from all of your data sources. Okay, so if I were to select, say, network and go TCP IP configurations, well, there are going to be a lot of configurations in here. Now, that doesn't mean that this is from one data source. This is going to be from all of your data sets. If I want to actually break down each data set individually, I would go into structure. It's going to break the data sets down by themselves and allow you to actually branch through each data set by itself. Now, with that being said, if I'm over here in TCP IP configuration, I can actually click an artifact and choose show on structure. And then it will take me to whatever data source this came from on the structure tab. So it looks like this one came from a system file from the NTFS volume, which makes sense, right? But that's how you would jump from the overview tab to the structure tab. Just a simple right click on whatever artifact you're interested in and choosing show on structure. We're already on structure, that's why it's not showing now. But going down to an individual file, let's just say we want to look at connected USB devices. Well, now we can click on a USB device and then choose, well, since we're here, that didn't actually work out how I wanted it to, but we'll go ahead and take a look at this. So looking at the USB device name, you can click on a column, filter it by A to Z, Z to A, what type class drive it is, hardware ID, serial numbers. Also, if you look over here on the right, you can find like hardware ID, serial numbers, first install, the time that the device first recognized this device, where it's being stored, so on and so forth. But say I want to highlight this and probably this one and this one. Now I can right click and I can bookmark checked items. Now I want to create a new bookmark. This one I'm going to call USBs, and I can change the categories. Remember, I said you can have as many bookmarks from as many categories as you want. So you get 10 categories. For this one, let's just make it a category 3, which is green, and I'll name it USBs. I select OK, and I've now added a bookmark to my my artifacts. So filtering by bookmarks up here, we'll bring that up. Let's see if I don't know if I got all 3 of them actually. I probably had to select them, so I apologize for that one. Let me go ahead and select these 2 and then do a bookmark checked items for USBs. So now I'm going to get the bookmarks for both of those devices. Now, if I want to view these later on, maybe create a report from them, I can come up here to my little hamburger tab, select bookmarks, and now I have USBs and then the 3 artifacts from there. So I can create a bookmark, a report for the checked profiles. So if I want, all USBs, all the pics I like, and this new picture that I want to create on report, just right click, create report for checked profiles. So that is creating bookmarks in Belkasoft X. Now, going back to the artifacts, you can see all the different types of things that may be useful for a incident investigation. And we had already talked about mounted devices, application shimming, so recent activity, things that may have happened on a machine that may be useful to you. Was whatever this was executed? Yes or no? What about services? What services were running when you collected? So this is kind of nice right here as well. Now you'll see that we have a built-in registry viewer. You can either look at it down here in this small screen. You can hit this little arrow to branch out and get a full screen registry viewer. So breaking this down, it's going to be basically kind of like any registry viewer, but you'll get your data, you'll get your keys. Looking in the bottom of the screen, you'll see where you're at. So I know it's very easy to get lost while exploring a registry. So that's a kind of a nice thing. And it's also hyperlinked to take you back that next folder. So you're never actually just getting lost. Now, back in the artifacts, same for hex. We have a built-in hex viewer that you can view down here. You can see the position you are in the file, the size of the file. If you want to pop this hex viewer out to a full screen, you certainly can. Say I'm analyzing this this file. I see something that is interesting to me. Let's see what we got here. Collect performance data. Not that that's really interesting, but say it is for the sake of this demo. I create a bookmark by selecting create bookmark up here. Now I have this highlighted and I'm never going to lose it. So if I click this little pencil, I now have this bookmark in here. If I select this and select edit bookmark and I'll name it, I'm not going to name it for this one, but let's just go ahead and say, this is interesting because ... Now, if I go select OK, and then I go all the way to the bottom of this hex file, I find something else that's interesting, I bookmark it. Now, instead of searching through here, trying to figure out where you were, you can click this pencil again and say, okay, now I want to kind of go back to that first thing. So I'll just go to bookmark. And I'm automatically going back. And now I know why I thought that this was important based on the description that I gave it. So it's just kind of a nice feature for saving, because I know it's also very easy to get lost in hex. Okay, now I've showed you a lot of different types of viewers. We also have plist viewers, SQLite viewers, file systems, and that's what I'm going to jump into now, the file system viewer. So over here on the left, it looks like most file systems. You've got your top level folder. You can also choose to look at things recursively, what we're currently doing now, or in grid view. So if I select E01 and go to grid view, I'm just going to get the folders that are underneath it. I'm not going to get all of the files that are under the E01. So selecting recursive, I've now got everything that's in the E01 all in one location. And you can filter by this. So if you're looking for something specific, let's just say, here, let's go ahead and pick something, right? Let's do Dara. I will go up here and search Dara. Apply. And now I have all of my Dara docs. So that's one way that you can filter through the file system. Now to clear your filters, simply select the X next to the orange filter name at the top. And then I'll get all of my files back. I can filter by, I can sort by collecting the column, or I can filter by selecting a specific date within this column as well. You can also organize by file type if you'd like. Now, breaking that down a little bit more, let's go into a mem dump. So this would be kind of useful, right? So a lot of times we see something like SVC host or SVC or SCV host, right? We know what's right and how it's supposed to look, but a lot of times, I mean, just one letter off is not going to trigger the human eye to stop. So we know that WinLogin is real, but WinLogin is not. So sometimes something simple as that. Now this one's pretty obvious, but you'll notice that you see, hey, it is a live process, and Belkasoft X detected it as a suspicious process name. Now, over here on the right, it'll say malware name. So if there is a known malware associated to the suspicious process, you would see it here. You can also see that there was a virus total file link, meaning we checked that particular file against virus total and nothing was populated. So this is what the actual memory process will look like within Belkasoft X. You'll say here that some of these were not alive. So we've already acquired here, we've processed a dead process. So that's kind of a nice feature to have as well. So that is the file system viewer. Next is the incident investigations module. So this is what you guys have available to you. Over here on the left, you'll see the methods of persistence, such as app-init DLLs, a change of default file associations, scheduled tasks, services that were running at the time of collection, the startup folder. So what was set to run at startup? So this was called persistence. Key path was within the current version of the run. So I mean, most of this just kind of looks basic, but the point of this is that it pulls out the things that could commonly that are commonly looked at during an incident investigation. So Explorer programs, shim cache. Hey, what was executed right before I took this image? Link files, jump list, all these types of things are things that can be pulled out automatically. So again, this is not all inclusive. What it's doing is it's taking that incident investigation module, pulling out the common artifacts associated to an incident investigation and putting them in front of your face, basically saying, hey, this is what we pulled out for you. This is where you need to start. So there's all sorts of different things in here, and I'm not going to dive through the specific artifacts because this is simply a demo, but you get the point of why it's there and how useful this could be in an investigation. Now, I mentioned the SQLite viewer, but I kind of want to show it to you. So I'm going to pop out the SQLite viewer into a full screen. You can click the different tables here, and you'll get all the different type of artifacts that are being stored in that SQLite database. Now, we can look at the data, but we can also look at the structure of that database. Okay. Next is probably the connection graph. So the connection graph is going to take, I'm going to go ahead and clear my filters here, reset to default. So when you first load this up, it's like, man, this is busy, because this is taking all of the data sets that I had and showing me every communication, every point to point, every connection between all of these nodes, these data sets, these individuals, and it's throwing it in your face. You can clean this up a little bit. You turn the titles off. So now we kind of have just some nice little nodes with some connection lines. Let's focus on Sebastian. So if I select Sebastian, over here on the left, you'll see that the first name is Sebastian and Moran, and that there's some sort of nickname here, Sebastian Moran. Everything that Belkasoft X was able to identify about this person is over in this block. If I click this node, just this node, you'll see all of these links are highlighted. They're all orange. Well, that's going to show you over here on the right-hand side everything that this person did known to Belkasoft. So any sort of account, any sort of connection. So this contact information is in here. Now, if I were to say, okay, let's just view people who have talked at least 15 times. Okay, well, I narrowed down the scope a little bit. Let's go to 45, okay? And how about 86? So now we just have what appears over here to be an Android backup. So that's the node, that data source that's going to have a lot of the communication between these. So you can assume one of these guys has an Android. And then Emily. So Emily is over here. But really, I'm really concerned about the professor and Sebastian. So just kind of an idea. I select professor. Let's get some information about the professor. Okay, I've got an email. I've got a unique identifier and the phone number. I jot that down, or I can just copy it out of here. Now, I want to see what's connecting these two. So if I click the link between these two individuals, I now have everything that's connecting these two people over here on the right-hand side. So any chat message that they've sent. I can also look at the item text. I can look at the hex. I can look at the SQLite, all from this connection graph. If I want to create a report from here, I just select everything and create report for checked items. That's going to give me everything between those two individuals. If I do it from here, let's go ahead and turn names back on. If I do it from here, I do create report for checked items, I'll actually get a screen grab of this graph and it'll be included in my report. So let's click back in here. And then over here on the top, you'll see as well, mail. So it's going to break it out by artifacts. So these different types of artifacts are connecting these two individuals. So it's just kind of a nice way to make that happen. Now, let's clear that one, right? Get everybody back out there. Let's put the titles back off. Another way that you can do this is, hey, only show me people. Let's do, on this one, let's do Mary. So, sorry, let me get this. So Mary Poppins over here, I only want to see who Mary's communicated with. So now I'm going to filter by nodes and neighbors. So now I only have who Mary has communicated with. So that's just kind of a nice way to break that down as well. So let's clear these, reset to default. Okay, now that was the connection graph. The final thing that I'm going to run through is the timeline. So there are different ways that you can look at the timeline. This is the bar graph, right? So it's going to give you all the years kind of broke out. You can zoom in and zoom in on a specific time frame. So over here on the right, it looks like we're probably in 2019. If I select this by right-clicking it, you can see that I've got all sorts of different data. So you can see a car kit, a Mazda, a geo bookmark was created. Let's go over here on this one. There was a download, approved, cleared. So this is just kind of a way for you to jump to these artifacts. If I select this, let's see. Select this one, it'll take me to the specific artifact. that it was telling me about. Now, while I'm here, speaking of timelines, up here on the top, you'll see a mini timeline. This is just there, say, okay, I only want to see something between 2018 and 2019. Now, while that is not very specific, it'll filter it out by what you've dragged for. Over here, looking at the artifacts, I'll see a little tilde next to my artifacts. Well, that's because we didn't set a specific date. We just kind of dragged, so we don't know how how specific we were. So it's going to say, hey, there was roughly this many artifacts in that time frame. So to clear the mini timeline, you just single click inside the mini timeline. Everything comes back. All right, going back into the timeline, if you don't want to look at the graph, you can look at it in grid view. This is my favorite view. You can also tailor these columns by right-clicking, choosing Show Columns, and you can set your timeline how you want it to appear. If I want my, say, event type to be right next to item type, I'll just move it up by selecting the up arrows. Okay, so now I've moved that event type over next to my item type. And you can change these around, whatever makes sense for you. And you can filter by, say, within the text. So if there's something specific in the timeline you're looking for, just click the little funnel and type in, anything Google, right? So anything with Google in it will be presented in the timeline. So that is basically what I have for you today. If there is anything specific that you'd like me to hit on, or if you have any questions, I would be happy to do so now.
I'm not seeing that he's putting anything up. So, Jared, if you would just flash the contact screen again, that way he can jot that down. If he comes across any questions later on, he can give us a shout or send us an email. Brent, I want to thank you again for attending today, to be our sole attendee. Jared, again, appreciate your time and your presentation skills. Always a treat. And that would just about do it. I do appreciate both of you for your time and efforts today. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Brent.